everyone, and thank you so much for 2,500 subscribers. Wow. I've said my piece already, but I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to watch this channel. I really never thought I would get this far this quickly, but I definitely plan to keep doing it as far into the future as I can. So I asked in a community poll, and you guys said that you would like a Q&A video as opposed to a live stream, and that's what this is. There are quite a lot of questions, and I probably didn't keep my answers as short as I could have, so it might be a long video, we'll see. And given what else I have to work on this month, it probably won't be super well edited, so I'm just going to have this one photo of Sunnyfall here this whole time, and I will bring up visual aids as needed, but it would be a long video to edit, so I'm gonna go with minimal. I hope you enjoy it anyway. Okay, question 1. What is your favorite character from the first arc? Brightheart and Thornclaw are pretty high up there for me, but both of them I like for their whole lives rather than just what they did in the first arc. Confining myself specifically to first arc material, Dustpelt is probably my favorite, followed by Cinderpelt. Also, what is your favorite character from each arc? New Prophecy is difficult since I don't like any of the characters very much, but Mothwing is in there, so I'll go with that. For Power of 3, that one's difficult because I like all of the characters. That was always the case, but writing for them has given me a greater appreciation for the cast at large. So many of my favorite cats are from this arc, or Omen of the Stars, but Hollyleaf is flat out my favorite character in the series, so she does have to win here. For Omen of the Stars, Ivypool probably, though that's based on a highly inaccurate idea of her that canon never really uses. Briarlight is probably my favorite if I use book accuracy. Oh, Dawn of the Clans is easy, Greywing. But I also enjoy many of the other characters from that arc, just because the cast was so rich and diverse. Go read Dawn of the Clans, everyone. A Vision of Shadows. Here I have the problem where I don't care for many of the characters again. Plus my memories for specific parts of these books are getting stale. I am rereading it soon, though. Am I allowed to say Cloverfoot? Or maybe Fernsong, since this was the time where we thought he might eventually get shown as a nursery dad? Yeah, I'll go with that. The Broken Code. I really want to say Bristlefrost. For the first 3 books of the arc, she was a contender for being one of my favorite cats in the series, but she's fallen from grace pretty heavily since then. Maybe Thriftier or Thornclaw again? They didn't do much, but what they did was pretty significant, and I liked them. Probably still Bristlefrost overall, though. As for the 8th arc, we don't really know much about any of them, enough for me to determine favorites yet, but I'm hoping for good things from Frostpaw and Sunbeam, and from the one sentence I know about Flamepaw, I can guess that I will hate him with a fiery passion. Alright, on to the next question. Who is your favorite POV character? As I said, Hollyleaf is my favorite character overall. However, as a POV, I might rank Jay Feather ahead of her. He just has such an interesting perspective to read from, between his attitude, knowledge of, and disinterest in other cats' feelings, and of course his blindness causing the writing style of descriptions to change. It's really nice. And also, what is your favorite arc in the series so far? Multiple people had that question. My favorite arc is, and probably always will be, Omen of the Stars, despite the many shortcomings it has. It has a grand scale and ambition, plus the cast of characters set up so well in the preceding arc made for a really exciting situation and set of possibilities. It inspires me so much creatively, even when the writing that exists is lacking sometimes. Also, what is your favorite Super Edition? Tall Star's Revenge. Instant. Although Crooked Star's Promise ranks highly too, just for its rich cast. I love those guys. And favorite novella? Tree's Roots and Mothwing's Secret from the fairly recent Warrior Spirit were both amazing, but I still think I have to rank Hollyleaf's story ahead of them by a little. I just really love Fallen Leaves and Hollyleaf's old couple dynamic. Also, the fox. Baby Fox is adorable. Everyone should adopt a fox. Also, favorite manga. Shadow and Riverclan, hands down. It gave so much depth to Feathertail and a lot of the pre-New Prophecy Riverclan that was never really explored before, and gave us 2 new ships in the process. Featherfern or Feather Sasha, everyone, where do you stand? How did you first get into Warriors? In 3rd grade, we had these monthly reading days where we would all come into school in pajamas with our stuffed animals, build pillow forts in the classroom, and just read in them all day. It was great. But it did mean that I needed a lot more reading material than before, so me and a few other kids in the class started reading Warriors since the first 6 books were available in the library. I really liked animal books in general, and Warriors had more characters and story ideas than I had ever encountered, so I got hooked really quickly, and I never really stopped. I've been reading A Vision of Shadows. What are your thoughts on Alderheart? Oh boy. I'm currently rereading the first book, and I'll get to the others soon, so this is going to be somewhat of a rusty opinion, but he's really good in the first book. Warriors doesn't often show failure in a daily sense, so it was refreshing to read about a cat who genuinely wasn't good at everything right away, or even after hard work. I definitely saw the allegories to anxiety in his point of view, and enjoyed them as well. But over the course of A Vision of Shadows, that character just slowly dissolved, with no reason given for the change, so now he's just kind of a nothing character who never learned to get over his struggles since they just disappeared one day. Not fantastic. And do you think Vision of Shadows was written as good as the first series, or what are your thoughts on it? No. I rag on the first arc a lot, but I do think of it as a good arc overall, at least by Warrior standards. Meanwhile, A Vision of Shadows stands as one of the only 2 arcs I actually don't like. The Apprentice's Quest, and I suppose Shattered Sky, was the best the arc got, but even then I wasn't really a big fan of the cast, especially the main characters, or the plot. And like all of the recent arcs, it dropped drastically in quality once the 3rd book was done, so I don't tend to find too much to enjoy about it. And also, what did you think of all the story arcs of Warriors? Oh boy. The first arc had a solid story with some great characters, but there wasn't much build-up for character arcs. They were really only used once they became relevant, and no more than they absolutely had to be. And the Fireheart versus Tigerclaw is a fairly standard run-of-the-mill plot in comparison to what came after. But I don't hate it, it's pretty darn okay. New Prophecy was very boring to me, mostly on account of the fact that it's structured like a character-driven story without ever actually letting the characters be deep enough or letting them interact enough to form a compelling tale. It's really remarkable that these 6 main characters were able to spend 3 to 4 books traveling together without ever growing closer, or growing as cats. Plus, it reverts Bramblepaw's amazing story in the first arc for the sake of giving him a moral dilemma that really should have been over and done with within a moment of Tigerstar's offer. Not a fan of this arc. Power of 3 has absolutely no plot, but pretends it does, and it doesn't even slightly matter to me because while I'm reading that aimless story, I get to watch the best clan culture in the series with many of my favorite Warriors characters ever. Love this arc to bits. Omen of the Stars, meanwhile, is a mess, and I love it. They had 6 books to wrap up a plot started for them in the last arc, and still spent 4 to 5 of those books not making much progress, and then didn't even make the super important main characters important to stopping the Dark Forest. Yeah, I'll get into that later. But this arc throws so many ideas at the wall and still has so many of the characters I love that it's a treasure trove of creative ideas and potential that never really went anywhere. AKA, great for someone like me to mine fanfic ideas from. Though it does also have rock, so, not all of its ideas are useful ones. Dawn of the Clans is probably what I could declare as the best the series has to offer in terms of writing quality. It balances a good cast with an engaging plot and does both well for the most part. It was primarily penned by the Modern Warriors team and as such does have the traditional dip after book 3, but honestly it's still really good. I just wish it handled female characters and adoption better, and that the weird plot and character choices of the second half were building to something. A Vision of Shadows I just went over, but The Broken Code was an interesting one. I was more interested in the first 3 books of that arc than I have been in anything Warriors related in a long while. Rootspring and Bristlefrost were each great characters who had a cool dynamic and plenty of room to grow and help each other grow. Shadowsight had a connection with the imposter, so at least some reason to see him struggle through the arc. That's a bird. Hello, bird. And honestly, I didn't mind the more supernatural elements the arc looked to be using. But again, after the 3rd book, it plummeted. Maybe the 6th book will be amazing, and I would think of this one differently. Until then, it's not one of my favorites. And could you rank your favorite characters to least favorite? There are too many characters in Warriors to rank. But here's my current top and bottom 10 for your perusal. What do you think of one clan leader's solutions to problems compared to others? Which is your favorite leader? Blue Star and Clear Sky are my favorite characters who are leaders, but I enjoy them for their complexity and wouldn't necessarily want to be ruled by them or mimic their style of ruling if I was a leader myself. As far as characters I like the leading style of, Tall Star, Leaf Star, and Tall Shadow come to mind. Overall, Leaf Star is probably my favorite in that department. It's very close. Okay, this is getting longer than expected. Rapid fire time. Who's your favorite character? Hollyleaf. Do you think Firestar is overrated? Probably, though not by a lot. Favorite arc? Omen of the Stars. Thoughts on the upcoming book River? Very interested. I'll save judgments until we know more, but I am super happy to have a RiverClan POV. Are you happy with the cats they're making into plushes this year? More or less. Definitely interested in the Ivypool and Cinderpelt ones. Ivypool in particular has a wide variety of designs, so we'll see how that one goes, but it's cool. Dovewing or Ivypool? I thoroughly enjoy them both, but I suppose I empathize more with Ivypool, and I believe Dovewing to be on the right side of their dispute, so take that as you will. Are there any underrated side characters you wish had gotten more development or use? Yes. Many of them. Here's a few. Also cereal or milk first? Cereal, of course. If you don't, you're crazy. Who would you make the parents of Sandstorm, and why them? If given a choice, I'd rather not choose parents for her at all. The first arc wasn't built with parents in mind, so it tends to muck things up when you retroactively choose relations. Plus, the less intertwined all of Thunderclan is, the better. If you were tasked with writing a super edition or novella about the cat of your choice, who would you choose, and what would you like the plot to be? At this point in time, I believe I'd choose Thornclaw and, as a plot, give his perspective on the current leadership of Thunderclan, along with his opinion of his generation being in the Elder's Den without him. Maybe have some flashbacks to both his friends being dead and one having taken over the clan and the mass amounts of death he's witnessed, and have it show those experiences making him become determined to just live his life the best he can. Bonus if it includes Bramblestar's death, Squirrelflight making him deputy, and then him dying, either in battle or of sickness, realizing that there are some things you can't fight. Either of those would be cool. What do you think would have happened to Ravenpaw if he never left Thunderclan? I honestly believe that with how much control Tigerclaw had at the time, he would have quickly either been exiled or went the route of Redtail and been secretly murdered. If he did stay alive long enough to reveal the secret to Blue Star, though, she might have listened, especially since it would be a first-hand accurate account immediately with no mention of RiverClan kits to get her defensive. Tigerclaw might not have had time to go through with his plan to murder her in that case, and with Blue Star keeping her sanity, quite a lot would be changed from there. Go AU to your heart's content. If you had to choose one cat from the power of 3 to kill, yes, this includes main and background characters, who would it be, and how do you think it would affect the story? Oh boy. On a writer level, I love them all, and know they can be cool parts of their clan. A lot of which death I would prefer would come down to what effects the character's death would have on the story, which itself would depend on when they died in the story. But if I was trying to improve the world on an in-universe level, I think my best bet would just be killing Ashfur, before Hollyleaf could do it herself. She would still have not being one of the 3 to weigh on her mind, but she probably wouldn't ever need to go as far as she did. Preferably, it would be before the fire scene even happens, so the 3 can keep living their lives as Squirrelflight's kits, but Ashfur's ghost might object to that one and do something about it. The obvious second choice would be Brambleclaw, but if you kill Brambleclaw in Power of 3, Firestar would just make Greystripe his deputy again, and I'm not sure that would be so much better. Also, do you play Among Us? I don't play a ton of Among Us, but I do play a few games once in a while with some friends. I'm not particularly good at it, especially as imposter. If you could change one thing about Warriors lore, what would it be? Remove rock is my first answer. But in all honesty, I think the better choice would be something more like not ever having StarClan appear as physical cats and having them only be present as ethereal signs in the sky. On a more personal preference, the Warrior Code, I would like that practically thrown out the window. I think the way the first arc was almost treating it was actually pretty good. They were using it as just sort of a vague code of honor that didn't have any particular rules and was instead just the understood way that we should behave as clan cats, and I really like that idea because it prevents many of the particular hiccups that come when you can take advantage of very bad rules. Alright, I've answered most of these questions, but if you could remove one character from the series, which would it be? If I could remove one character and all of their effects on the world, I think I would have to choose Bramblestar, even though I actually really like Ravenpaw as a character in the first arc. But he's just done far, far too much since then to be forgiven, and he poisons nearly everything he touches. If you had full creative control, what would you change about Warriors? You can answer this as broadly or specifically as you like. I assume this to be creative control moving forward, so no changing what's already written and or published. On that angle, step 1 is to change the code for real, giving it a massive overhaul to demystify cross-clan relationships, both platonic and romantic, making changing and visiting clans common enough to be a regular thing, and throwing out half the medicine cat code while bringing the important parts about protecting cats' lives no matter who they are into the main codes for everyone to follow. Step 2. Throw the story into the future. Everyone, or nearly everyone we know, will have died. We might have stories about them from the elders, but start off with a brand new cast and develop them nicely. Also, preferably, make the clan smaller, so that will be a reasonable goal. Also, make a Wing Clan point of view character, and a River Clan point of view character while you're at it, and have them visit the other clans still, but give those guys some love. Okay, who or what was your inspiration to start a YouTube channel? Mostly I just wanted an avenue to get my thoughts out about the books I was drawing material from for Paws of Stars, as well as the new material coming out. Written scripts help me to fully think through my opinions on various topics, which is really helpful on my end to see exactly what I want to say and which opinions I have that are grounded in evidence or fanon. However, on the personal end, Moonkitty was definitely my inspiration. I don't intend to mirror her content in any way. I am not educated in the ways of either comedy or animation, but she mentioned one day that the fandom doesn't have a lot of purely analysis channels in comparison to the number of fantastic artists and mixed topic creators, so it suddenly clicked in my head that instead of just writing my thoughts down for myself in random Google Docs, I could make them into videos that would push my creativity and help me build a variety of skills. How are your video making skills so good, and what equipment are you using? Thank you, first of all. I'm not sure I'm especially good at video making yet, but I feel good enough about my videos to put them online. I did spend about 2 months, from October to December, learning to edit audio, draw assets for the videos, and poses, backgrounds, visual aids, and the like, learning to write scripts that were appropriate in length, and of course learning to use editing software so I could actually put the videos together. At the moment, I use a Canvas Pro 16 tablet along with Clip Studio Paint for drawing. I use a Yeti Nano microphone and Audacity to do the audio, and I edit in Final Cut Pro. What was your writing process and some of the choices you decided to make while rewriting the Power of Three and Omen of the Stars arc? Also, how have you been? I technically started scripting back in January of last year, but it was mostly just laying down early details that I wanted the combined arc to have, and the biggest changes I wanted to make. I started the process of dividing the arc into books and creating outlines for each chapter in February, and I finished them for all 7 books in April. Unfortunately, around that time, the whole world shutdown thing happened, so I got a bit distracted and didn't actually start writing the chapters until early July. But since then, I've kept up a weekly schedule on that, and I'm nearly finished with book 3 now. The chapter outlines I wrote were pretty specific, so mostly when I go to write, I take out the canon material, if any, that the chapter will draw from, turn that chapter's outline into a checklist, and start writing and editing if need be, until the chapter fills out all the checklist points, along with getting some character moments in with some clanmates. I try to make each chapter 13 to 20 pages in length, double-spaced, so I can keep it mostly consistent. Along the way, I also take notes for revisions I'd like to do, and when I finish all the chapters of a book, I go back and do a full edit of the book, implementing those revisions and fixing any errors I find. Inevitably, some still get through, but I do my best. As far as specific choices I made to differentiate myself from the canon material, the biggest ones were all about making the story more cohesive. I wanted things to fit together, and that's everything from the lore to particular character relationships, the role of certain villains in the story, a whole bunch of stuff. Although there are definitely a few things that I just added for my own enjoyment, because it's what I've always dreamed of. Also, I'm doing quite well, thank you for asking. Busy, but it's a busy I enjoy. Hey, anywhere we can post fan art? Yes! I do have a Twitter, linked in the description, and you can feel free to @ me with any fan art on there. If you don't have or don't want a Twitter, though, and I cannot remotely blame you for that decision, you can post it wherever else you want and send a link or the image itself to my contact email, which you can find on my channel, to a page I will also link to below. You could also try posting the link in the comments, but there's a 50% chance YouTube will delete your comment without warning before I can see it in that case, so it's probably safer to avoid. Have you read Wings of Fire? If so, what's your favorite book, arc, and character? I have, yes. I just recently caught up with the series. I didn't grow up with Wings of Fire, but having found it recently, I'm very impressed. My favorite character is probably a tie between Snowfall and Sunny. And no, I am not trying to be egotistical with the Sunny pick. I actually think I'm quite different from her as a person. Also, no, I was not aware of Sunny before I picked the name Sunnyfall, or Sunny before that. Actually, Sunny was a name I adopted back in 2009 before Wings of Fire was even a thing. As far as a favorite arc, it's probably Arc 2, and my favorite book is probably A Dangerous Gift, considering it's the only one to have made me cry. But I'm still in the honeymoon phase with that book, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Are you also a Wings of Fire fan? Do you plan on doing a video about that series or anything other than Warriors? Yes, I am a Wings of Fire fan now. I might do a video on it eventually. It is on the list of ideas now, but probably not in the near future. I'd like to focus on Warriors first. A second question, do you have a favorite LGBTQ plus headcanon or pairing for Warriors? Hollyleaf with herself and no one else ever, because she doesn't need a partner to make her fulfilled. But as for an actual pairing, within canon it definitely has to be Tallstar and Jake for me. In any sort of romance, I really like couples who get to know each other and enjoy spending time together, and we get to see most of that relationship with Tallstar and Jake. As for non-canon things, though, I headcanon Hazeltail as a lesbian, perhaps briefly for Hollyleaf, but permanently with one other cat, which is a spoiler for Paws of Stars, so I'll leave it there. How do you feel about Wings of Fire getting a TV series instead of Warriors? Should the Warriors fandom feel slighted by this? As immature as it sounds, I was bitter over it. It's certainly understandable to feel upset that Wings of Fire is getting a TV series, and in seemingly much quicker production than Warriors. It would probably be nice to see a Warriors TV series, but we have had so much content as it is, with 90 plus books depending on how you count them, that I don't feel like we're missing anything. Mostly I was just able to feel excited about the idea of a Wings of Fire Netflix show, but if Warriors ever gets one, I will be a very happy camper. Also, how do you feel about the Warriors movie that has been in development since late 2016? If it ever comes out, fantastic. I will go to see it in theaters if I can, and on my computer if I can't. But even when I heard the news in 2016, I thought it was a pretty lofty goal, and was waiting for details into further production before I got too hyped. Kinda glad I did that now. Have you seen Clouded Moon by Starcat Studios? If so, what do you think of it? And I know it's a little early in the show to ask, but who is your favorite character from the show so far? Also, are you a part of the staff or creative team? I have seen it, yes, and it was very impressive. I don't know the first thing about animation, I barely know anything about art in general, but the fact that a team came together and produced something that beautiful and detailed in such a short time is amazing. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I do wish them the best of luck with the future of their project. If I can empathize with them on anything, it's that I know throwing so much of yourself into one creative endeavor can be hard, but it's also super rewarding. It is a little early for me to declare favorite characters, especially given that the lore and story direction will apparently be changing from the original direction, but from what I do know about the characters, I imagine I'll enjoy Dawnfrost quite a bit. Okay, last round of rapid-fire questions. What Hogwarts house are you in? I am a Ravenpaw. I know how silly that sounds, but it's accurate. Every test I've taken has put me in either Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw, and I don't know which I'd prefer, so I'll let the Sorting Hat choose for me. What other fandoms are you in? I'm a fan of a lot of things, but I don't often wade into the fandoms of many of them. However, for the stuff I am a fan of, here's a long and non-exhaustive list in no particular order. Also, favorite TV show or movies. I have difficulty choosing favorites across multiple categories. TV shows and movies are so vast that I go for different ones for different things. At the moment, though, I might have to say The Good Place as my favorite TV show and Over the Moon for my favorite movie. Mostly because I watched them recently and they're fresh in my mind. Favorite song genre, Broadway show tunes. Thoughts on Minecraft? Minecraft is nice. It's been in my life for nearly a decade, but I didn't ever get particularly deep into it. Mostly I just use single-player worlds, though I do join a server here and there. Fanfiction. I don't actually read too much fanfiction, and prior to 2020 I wouldn't say I wrote much of it either. But, well, Paws of Stars, so that's inaccurate now. Favorite ice cream flavor. My favorite ice cream is a flavor a local place does called Cookies and Dough. It's a cake batter ice cream base with Oreos and cookie dough in it. It is extremely unhealthy and ridiculously good. On a more general scale, pistachio is probably my favorite. I like that anywhere. Do you like pineapple on pizza? No, though I do respect those who enjoy it. Have you ever had pineapples, black olive, and spinach pizza? If so, what did you think? Not all at once. I tried pineapple and wasn't a huge fan, though I do love pineapple when it isn't on pizza. Spinach is something I prefer more in a quiche or eggs than on pizza. Olives are absolutely amazing. My go-to pizza order is usually an olive sausage pizza. It's very good. And that's all the questions. Wow, that was long. Again, thank you so much for 2,500 subscribers. I am extremely grateful to all of you. I hope you enjoyed this in some way, and I hope I got to all of your questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time with a more regular episode.